Welcome to my natural swimming pond tour. I acknowledge the Ngunnawal people who are the original custodians of this place. This was a DIY project in my semi-retirement and it took me about 4 weeks to complete in the yard of my sustainable home. I was motivated by increasingly hot summers and 20 years spent farming in drought. The site was behind the main house on the block and in front of my backyard secondary residence. I used second-hand concrete blocks from the old driveway on the site for my retaining walls. These are called Urbanite when you're recycling. They're free and I didn't have to pay for cartridge and disposal. I'd attempted to garden on the clay terrace in the south-facing shade, which wasn't very successful. I became aware of the natural swimming pool movement in Europe and found the videos by Pagan, Butler, and I was hooked. I love swimming in fresh, natural water. There are so many different ways available to create natural swimming pools. I had a very shaded site and very little money. I spent lots of hours on internet searches. I was a single 60-year-old semi-retired woman with a lot of time on my hands. I was not totally committed to starting until I found the second-hand spa shell with a cartridge filter in a town 2.5 hours away. It would be absolutely perfect for 5 ladies drinking champagne. Then it was on. Summer in Canberra 2018 was very hot when I started. I only had a rough idea of what it would look like. I adapted and changed things as it evolved. I had to move the Urbanite wall outwards to accommodate the spa shell in the upper terrace. I hired a couple of young blokes to help in their school holidays. It got hotter. We needed to excavate down 1.5 metres in solid clay for the spa shell and 40 centimetres for the planting zone. From research, I knew the most important element was a very high quality plant-friendly pond liner. I couldn't skimp on money with this. It cost approximately $3,000, but if it failed or got a hole in the future, all the effort would be for nothing. I laid foam concreting underlay and cheap packing fabric down before the liner. The insulating foam on the old spa shell had to be hacked off later when I realised it would make it float. I'd been working solo for a while until I broke my finger wheelbarrowing gravel. The boys came back and helped me at this stage. They're seen here laying the suction hose into the gravel bed and covering it with more gravel. I was starting to get a bit nervous here that it may not work. 43 degrees and the first fill with water from my tanks. This was when I discovered the floating problem. I was hiding my splintered finger behind the fabric-covered agricultural drain pipe which made up the suction ring main. The aerial view shows the piping layout. I bought a small high-efficiency pool pump and kept the cartridge filter that came with the old spa. The ring of suction is down 15 centimetres in the gravel around the spa shell. It's then buried 30 to 40 centimetres down at the base of the planting zone and winds through the gravel bed that's planted with aquatic plants. The plants take up any nutrients from dropped leaves, which will increase the algae in the water. Fresh water is pumped into the base of the spa shell, which swirls around, avoiding stale water. There are also 2 fountains in the fresh water amongst the plants to avoid still water, which would encourage mosquitoes. The cross section, you can see that the spa shell is 15 centimetres under the water level, so the water moves freely throughout the pond. The raised edge is where the liner is secured with cement and neatened with natural rocks. The edge is raised to avoid nutrient-rich runoff entering the pond. The filtering took about 2 days to remove the dirt from the gravel after the first fill. I've inoculated the gravel with a microbial product called Sploshed to keep the water clean. The ecosystem will establish itself over time unaided, but I helped it along. I hid the pump housing and started with a small fountain there, but moved to fountains in the gravel bed for swimmer comfort and mosquito control. This has worked perfectly. This shot is 2 weeks after finishing. The second summer has been fantastic. The plants have grown and the ecology has developed perfectly. With a trial and error approach, things are great. The pump runs on a timer in daylight hours when the solar system is active. I need to top up the water level occasionally from my tanks in very hot weather. Maintenance in winter is negligible. In summer, I rinse the cartridge filter about once a week, remove fallen leaves, watch for pests like aquatic snails, and do a bit of general gardening of the plants while I bob around enjoying the afternoon shade. I suppress algae and aquatic snails with a copper solution, barley straw and sploshed microbes. No chemicals means no water testing is needed. It turns out to be a joy, and it cost under $6,000 for absolutely everything required to create it, including labour and doctor's appointments. I'm overjoyed with the visual and swimming pleasure it gives. The pond has turned a barren, shady spot into an oasis of calm and wildlife. I provide drinking water for lots of bees from the surrounding areas, insects and lizards. I have a lot of birds who drink and bathe daily, and my dogs prefer to drink this water rather than fresh water. I hope you enjoy the journey.